larger than even Jobs' enormous ambitions. Once on the precipice of bankruptcy in 1997, Apple today is one of the most valuable and profitable companies anywhere. And yet Apple behaves like a corporation under siege, because despite all this success, it is. From the moment in late 2007 that Google unveiled Android and its own plan to dominate the world of mobile phones and other mobile devices, Google hasn't just tried to compete with the iPhone, it has succeeded in competing with the iPhone. Android took hold in 2010, and it has exploded in popularity since. To Apple's astonishment, there are now more smartphones and tablets running Android software than there are iPhones, iPads, and iPod Touches running Apple's software, known as iOS. In 2012, there was even debate about whether the iPhone was the most popular smartphone anymore. During the third quarter of 2012, some surveys said Samsung sold more Android-powered Galaxies than Apple sold iPhones. Apple ended the who has the most popular smartphone discussion at the end of 2012, when it unveiled the iPhone 5. But more and more wonder whether this is even relevant anymore. The differences between the two platforms are narrowing by the day. Sure, they are different structurally. Apple makes every inch of the iPhone, the hardware and the software, though the devices are assembled in China. Google just makes the software for Android phones. It allows phone manufacturers such as Samsung to make the hardware. But both platforms now have an equivalent number of pluses and minuses. Apple's platform is a little easier to use, but it only offers 3 products: the iPhone, the iPad, and the iPod Touch. Google's platform offers many more phone choices and often has the latest phone features ahead of Apple, but it lacks the polish of Apple's interface. Still, both platforms are now equally available among large carriers worldwide, and with the exception of Apple stores, they are available for purchase in the same places. Seeing Apple's market dominance challenged so swiftly and broadly was uniquely painful for Jobs, and remains that way for the company's other executives. Jobs thought, and Apple executives still think, that Google and the Android community cheated to create their success. They think that Google executives stole Apple's software to build Android, and that Android's largest phone maker, Samsung, copied Apple's designs to build its super successful Galaxy phones. They feel betrayed. Apple and Google weren't just business partners when the iPhone was unveiled in early 2007. They were spiritual allies, the yin and yang of the technology revolution. This was one of the closest alliances in American business. Apple made great devices. Google made great software. Google's founders considered Jobs to be a mentor. Google's then CEO, Eric Schmidt, sat on Apple's board of directors. They had a common enemy, Microsoft. Together they planned for a long and prosperous marriage. Then, as can happen in a marriage, the relationship frayed. Secrets were kept. Promises were broken. And the two went to war. When Jobs died in October 2011, there was hope that the dogfight would feel less like personal betrayal and quiet down. That Apple's new CEO, Tim Cook, would take the emotion out of the battle and find a way to settle it. But if anything, Apple has gotten more aggressive and nasty toward Google since then. It still has dozens of patent lawsuits in at least 7 countries pending against the Android community, mostly against Samsung and Motorola, owned by Google. In the summer of 2012, it took the unheard-of step of having its fight with Samsung, Google's top distributor of Android phones, tried in front of a jury in San Jose. It won a $1 billion judgment, though that is being appealed. In September 2012, Apple stopped selling the iPhone preloaded with Google Maps. It replaced the app with one of its own, despite wide consumer complaints that the app was inferior. Apple is believed to be working on a video service to compete with YouTube, which Google owns. Apple has even begun replacing some Google search technology in the iPhone with search technology from its old enemy, Microsoft. Now, when you use Siri, the iPhone's voice recognition feature, Apple's newest software no longer uses Google Search. Instead, she queries Microsoft's Bing search.